and turn the recording on and say, hello, everybody. It's Monday, January the 9th, or Tuesday, January the 10th, depending what side of the date line you are. And it could be, for all we know, like May 15th when you're actually watching this video. So who knows what when it really is, but where it is right here, where we're recording it, is in January of 2023. And it's I guess it's our second practice group of the year. And I'm feeling eager. I would say that's the main feeling alive in me, eager to share what we have to share with you today, and sense of excitement and a little bit of relief that you made it back in time from your journey. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit of hyperness having run into town and to go into town when you live on an island and you live a bit far from any place. I went into town twice today and rushed back again, and not even in my own car because it was actually about getting a tire fixed. So I'm just like I'm really hyped up here. So I'm gonna do my best just to kind of go and settle being here with you.
Hmm. If you're here for the first time, we extend an especially warm welcome to you. Just to briefly explain what we do, we practice nonviolent communication here, which is a process designed by Dr. Marshall Rosenberg and developed over the last 50 or 60 years. Now there are around 700 certified trainers around the world, and Jory and I are two of them. And we've been doing this practice group since about the time the pandemic started. And everybody remember those days, those scary days when the pandemic first began. We didn't know what was happening, and everybody was locking down and all that. So we moved our in-person practice group onto Zoom, and we've been here ever since because we love it so much that our practice group grew from 15 to 20 people a week sitting in our living room to 40 or 50 a week from all around the world. And it's just a blast for us to share NVC with you in this way. And we practice three different ways typically in a week. We'll do some self-connection or self-compassion or self-empathy, where we're using nonviolent communication just with ourselves. And then we also create opportunities to practice honesty and empathy. Honesty being the part of nonviolent communication that where you're speaking your authenticity, speaking your vulnerability. Empathy being where you're listening with your heart as well as your ears. And we'll have chances to practice all that today. Okay, so Jory's making small groups for us, so I'll lead us in a self-connection exercise. And self-connection exercise just means a chance to notice what's happening in your own direct experience. So I'm not going to lead like a visualization or try to hypnotize you or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just going to invite you to notice what's actually happening in your world and in your body, in your heart. And I'm guessing you're looking at a screen right now. So just notice whether I guessed right. Notice what it is that you're doing in this moment and bring a quality of mindful awareness to what you're doing. And if you are looking at the screen, see if you can open your heart to enjoy it. You came here for a reason. I imagine you were here to be with other people and learn nonviolent communication. And this is the community that has gathered here today. I know I'm enjoying looking at all the postage stamps on my screen that represent real human beings that are all around the world. And then just let your eyes move off the screen if you're willing, and just look around. Look around the space that you're in. You can just relax and let your eyes go wherever they want to go. This is something that's deep in our neurology, that this need to know what the environment is that we're in the moment. And this really can support a sense of safety, maybe contribute to peace, inner peace, clarity. And then for me, it's when I want to notice my body, it's helpful to close my eyes. So if you're comfortable doing that, you can close your eyes. And notice what happens when you turn off the visual field. My guess is you become more aware of the other senses that you have. And just noticing what you hear, including the sounds of the rainforest that we live in. You might be aware of textures. Like you might notice whatever your hands are touching right now and the texture of that. Or maybe you notice where clothing is touching your skin. You may be aware of aromas in your environment. There may even be a leftover taste in your mouth from whatever it is that you were just recently drinking or eating. So that's all an example of observing the world. And as you continue to observe the world, you might also notice thinking. Apparently a unique human capability to think. So you might be labeling what you hear or smell or taste or touch, or you might be evaluating it, whether you like it or don't like it, whether it's good or bad or right or wrong. All that's fine. It's all human thought in action. That's what we seem to do, we human beings. We think. So this is another part of observing. We can observe the world through our five senses, or we can observe our mind. You can also observe the body. So just notice any sensations in your body right now. Maybe there's a sense of pain or pleasure, or maybe just a kind of a neutral buzz, a tingle. Maybe there's a sense of warmth or coolness, stillness or movement. You may notice emotions flowing through your experience. They just seem to arise like waves at the seashore, and they crest and then they fall and replaced by another emotion. So just notice that. So these sensations and emotions are like an information source for us. They're giving us a pipeline of information about the state of our needs. So this is a chance to tune into your heart. And you could ask yourself, what are the feelings that I'm having? these sensations and emotions, what are they telling me is important to me right now? What are you valuing in this moment? So all of what we've done so far is helpful in answering the first question that Marshall Rosenberg said NVC was designed to answer, which is, how are you? What's alive in you? What are you observing, feeling, and needing? And that opens up the possibility to consider the second question, which is, what would make life more wonderful for you? So just ask yourself that. You're going to, if you decide to stay, you'll be here for about 2 more hours. What's your request of yourself to get the most out of our time together? Maybe there are requests that you have of other people. So as a almost final step in the exercise, you can go back to the body now. Not that you ever really left it, but bringing attention back to the body and noticing what it's like now after having had this experience. Not trying to change what you notice in your body, just simply to notice it. To have this quality of mindful presence. We're going to invite you to go to small groups. They'll be 9 minutes long plus 1 minute at the end. This is just a chance to check in and to practice honesty and empathy. So I think most of the groups have either 2 or 3 people in them. Mm-hmm. And so everybody has about 2.5, 3 minutes. The idea is that you just check in. You just say how you are. You kind of answer those questions that you've been considering for the last 8 or 9 minutes or so. What's alive in you? How are you feeling? What emotions are you noticing about being here? And now things are going to be different. You're going to be just with 2 people. What feelings are alive in you then? What needs are alive in you? Why are you here today? And make sure you make space for everybody else to have a chance. So sometimes it's helpful to have a timekeeper, someone to kind of make sure that everybody has about 2.5 or 3 minutes to share. At the end of the 9 minutes, there'll be 1 more minute to finish up. You don't need to push any buttons or anything to come back. You'll automatically zoom back into this main room with the rest of us. And guess we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes. So you can open up the rooms there, Jory.
Okay, someone just joined us, so give me 1 second here while I assign. Oh, there's a few, 2. Okay. Some new people just arrived. Give me a sec. So that they can also be, where is that? Okay, well, if you've arrived.
We'll put you in a room in just a second.
In a second.
Here we
Okay,
go.
I'll go ahead and open it up. All right. Adios. See you later. Okay, so.
Gone.
Hello.
Welcome back. So you had an opportunity to communicate. Most of you had opportunities to have some connection with each other. I know there's a large crowd here, and often there's that sense of maybe not aloneness exactly, but without having much of a voice. So I'm glad you had that opportunity. Hopefully that worked for you. And I wonder if there's anything that you would like to share about your experience so far, or anything that we've already done that you've experienced here. And I see, oh, there's a hand up. Siva?
I just want to reflect to everybody that this mindfulness practice for me has really, really changed everything that I do. I'm more aware of strategies. I think that's all I want to say for now.
Thanks, Eva. Yeah. Mindfulness breeds awareness and self-connection, I
And
would say.
choice. It actually increases my experiences, as I think what you were pointing to with strategies, that we're growing the choices that we have. Instead of narrow, it has to be some way we can really expand. So thank you, Siva.
Anyone else want to? Yeah, go ahead, Don. I think I see your hand.
Well, that just remind me about consciousness, and I like to think and aim for conscious choices
Yeah.
rather than just subconscious reactionary choices. And I'll just mention in my teaching, mostly of adults, I would try to get the point across: your choices have results.
Yeah.
And we just had a nice introductory group. I was with Samara and Tanya, so that was very connecting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
wake up to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Kimberly?
Yeah, I just wanted to tag onto what, is that how you say your name, Siva?
Mm-hmm.
Siva?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the sort of not having to jump in if there's a conflict, learning that I can do any number of things. It's not even just one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that I always dove in. I just assumed if the fight was coming that I had to participate. So that's been huge for me, and huge for me with my children, with my ex that I'm in the midst of a divorce with. And I was in the room with people who are new to NVC, and that's really, I think that's just very wonderful to experience that and know that it's like a big present, like you're in the room with a present, you know, that you didn't create, and you're not giving, but it's just kind of present in the room, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
The present of NVC.
Yeah, the quality of connection that can happen. And I also appreciate you pointing out that place of have to that we have fallen into. We probably all grew up with someone telling us we had to something. And as we grow and expand in our consciousness, we realize how much more choice we have. Yeah, even the choice to do nothing. And I can
Shamu?
Shama.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
Hi, Jory. I'm Chamu here. How are you?
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you so much. And this NVC, my experience is like, even though I'm a people person,
Oops.
Whoops.
I'm trying to with more people, and I could look into the need.
Oops.
Oops, you're muted again. Something's happening
Yeah.
that keeps muting you.
Yeah.
Weird.
So sorry.
No worries.
It's like connecting, engaging, making me to engage more.
Nice. Yeah.
Oops, and muted again.
Yeah.
Something's
It's
going
like
on
the
there.
universe doesn't want you to engage.
Now our video went off. Maybe you intended to mute that time. No, I don't know.
You might want to log off and log back in. Sometimes that straightens out those kind of.
Yeah, if you're having problems with that and that's not what you want to be happening, you can try that to log back in and be more consistent.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Yeah,
now.
we can hear you.
Because my husband, he went for an official trip. So he's calling me 8 o'clock in the morning. Everything is set. My daughter's gone to school. So I'm disconnecting his call. He's keep calling, worrying what's happening. And he forgot I'm in the class.
Oh, I see.
So sorry.
No worries.
No
So
problem.
when I said I'm in the class, he said, okay, okay, bye, 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 bye. Now he understood my reason
Okay.
of attending NVC.
All right.
I'm glad you're here.
Stereo.
Yeah.
Are you complete?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So the connecting with my daughter is one thing which I'm focusing on,
Wonderful.
bringing more empathy to her need, because kids, they make a lot of tantrums. They really irritate you every time.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And
Mary?
Mary?
Oops.
I think now understand her need
Oh.
rather looking into her behavior, why she's doing this. I'm thinking what's making her to cause this behavior. So
Ah,
I'm just trying to open my eyes a bit now,
yeah.
trying to be a little matured mother.
I get it. You're really trying to open up your empathy so you have more clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Thank
Eh,
you.
Mary?
Yeah, I'd like to share my experience when I choose to stay with you. And then after you answered my question, you said, Mary, I noticed we have two more people here. That really touched me. You made a very good example of being mindful and connecting with the people, not neglecting them. So that to me, it's a very good lesson I learned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for naming it and noticing it. I'm touched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for example, when I'm in this big group, sometimes I just feel I'm here for myself. I kind of ignore who are here.
Yeah.
But actually, everybody, I should pay attention to them, to connect with everyone. We are here for a reason, right? Not just for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're part of a community. You're not just there as a single being.
Yeah.
We're us here. And I love you pointing that out because that's how it feels to me. I so appreciate all of you being here as part of our community.
And I also like you naming the shared aim that we're all here with a common purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually relates to what we're going to be talking about today, part of what we're going to be talking about today. So I think that clears all the hands. Is that complete for you, Mary? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so just check inside yourself and see if you've been waiting to make sure you're the last person to speak. And if you were waiting, then you can go ahead and speak now. Otherwise, we'll just keep on going with the class. Okay, then we'll keep going. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see what happens next. So the topic today is about relationships and resilience. And we're going to be talking about how important relationships are in order to create more of a sense of well-being and cultivate our vitality and support our resilience being a lot of what we talked about last week, this ability to bounce back when life gives us the inevitable surprises that sometimes can even be not only surprises but traumas. And the research that we mentioned before showed how relationships are an important resource that we human beings have in order to be resilient. And so we're going to be spending the next few weeks, and not sure how long this will take to get through all this material. It's actually the first time that we've had the luxury of teaching this material in more of a long form. We actually, the first time we started teaching this particular piece of material, we were in India at the what was called the NVC convention there. And somebody asked us, they noticed that Jory and Jim had been married for a long time, and we'd done a lot of our work together. And they said, Jim, Jory, would you guys do something about relationships, talk about relationships in NVC? And we said, sure, we'll do that. So we stood in front of a room, and we thought maybe 10, 15 people might show up, but about 80 people crowded around.
I remember now.
And they were so eager to hear how NVC might be supportive in relationships. And so we just started kind of speaking. We didn't really have too much prepared. We were just speaking of our own experience of 40 something years of being together and practicing nonviolent
It's
communication.
only 30 back then.
Close to 40. And so we kind of went through some bullet points, we'll say, over about an hour. I think Juliana might have been there, and maybe some other people that are on the call might have been there. And at the end of the call, at the end of the talk, somebody pointed out that they could take the main bullet points, arrange the topics, and they spelled out the word giraffe. This was not intentional on our part, and we were quite surprised, and we were really appreciative of the creativity of the person who noticed it. And so I'll show you what we learned in that moment. So, and we changed it a little bit since then. So we changed it to I giraffes. And so the I here in the center, then giraffe going around the circle. And then what do these words mean? And this is what we'll be unpacking over the next few weeks. We'll start with the I, and this is what we'll work on today, is intention and identity. So we'll talk about why we get into relationships and who we want to be in relationships. And then the G in giraffe stands for gratitude. And we'll have a direct experience of practicing gratitude today. So that's primarily what we'll work on today. But just so that you have a little preview of what we'll be doing over the next few weeks, we'll also be touching on this concept here. I'll work on me, you work on you. And don't want to give away too much there, but you can get that this is about self-responsibility rather than demanding that your partner or your colleague or whatever kind of relationship that you're working on be a different way than they actually are. The R stands for refusing submission. So we human beings have a deep habit that has been educated into us that when someone has more authority than we do, we tend to submit to that, or we tend to rebel. And we're going to show you how damaging that can be to a relationship and how to escape that old pattern. The A stands for agreements. The power of agreements in order to create glue for relationships, and how this relates to the idea of requests in nonviolent communication. The first F stands for freedom. And I don't think there's anything more promising about NVC in relationships than this notion of the balance between autonomy or freedom or choice or whatever word you want to use to describe it, and interdependence. So we'll be looking at that tension between freedom and interdependence and exploring that in some detail. The other F is fun. So relationships that last have some kind of element of joy in them. And so we'll work on how to create more joy in your relationships. The E stands for engagement. And we'll talk about how relationships that are sustainable and sustained, there's something that the partners or the colleagues have in common. Like we're all here together because we're engaged in this particular class with a common aim to learn and practice nonviolent communication. And so we'll show how getting clear on why you're engaging with somebody, why we even have engagement rings. You know, we're engaging in a relationship. What's that about? What does that really mean? And rather than just take it as a word, to actually embody it as an experience. And then the final S stands for support. How relationships that are sustainable, it could be the other S, would be sustainability. You can't have sustainability without mutual support. And so we'll talk about certain strategies. There's another S, strategies to create sustainable support. So I'll just pause there. That's a lot. You don't have to worry about trying to remember any of that. You'll get a copy of this slideshow. And and we'll talk about each of these in more detail over the next few weeks and relate them to some of the basic processes of nonviolent communication.
And when he says that you'll get a copy of it, what we mean is that it will be available to you if you want it.
On our website, yeah. So we'll just stop here and see if there's any comments or questions so far from anybody before we start practicing.
There's a hand up from Jeff.
Okay, Jeff, let's see what you got to say.
Yeah, thank you. I like to specialize in one of those words, and it's fun. And I noticed that during your presentation there, Jory's thumb was up, which was creating the little notification of the thumbs up. And it seemed like you were turning it off and it was still going on. And you were sitting like this. So anyway, that was fun for me. And I wanted to just celebrate that bit of fun. Thank you.
Yes, it's something new in Zoom that if you don't want to push the little button on the bottom of your screen in your reaction, if you hold your little thumb up long enough or hold up your hand long enough, Zoom recognizes that
I didn't
as
know
a thumbs
that.
up. Yeah, I think it's about 7 seconds or something like that. Thanks,
Wow.
Jeff. That's fun to know.
Sure.
I just learned something. I like that. Thank you.
And Tanya?
On the topic, also on the topic of fun, I knew this couple a while ago. I've known him for a long time, but anyway, a long time ago, we were sitting around talking, and somebody asked the woman why she was with the man, and she said, in the sweetest voice I have ever heard, "He makes me laugh."
Oh, yes. That's almost the exact reason why Jory and I are married, because she laughed at my jokes. And so that meant she was.
He would say that for years. He married me because I laughed at his jokes.
Yeah.
And I finally said, really? That's it? And so we had some talk about that. Than that.
All right, well, let's practice a little bit. And let's go to pick an ongoing relationship that you mostly enjoy. I use those words with clarity because no relationship that I've ever had is completely joyful. And all relationships have challenges. And so, but pick an ongoing relationship that you mostly enjoy. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be a business relationship, could be a friendship, but just pick one. And then name the person and name how you're involved. If you're curious, the reason for this is we've discovered in our own NVC practice that the more specific we are about having a focus of practice, the easier the various aspects of the practice become. Then you'll be able to expand it out to other relationships once you have this particular one as a template. It's probably also helpful to write this down because this will be an opportunity to have a journal or like a relationships journal over the next few weeks when you can really go deep in your own practice of nonviolent communication in relationship.
Would you please repeat the
The
what
prompt,
we have to talk about?
sure. Pick
Yes, please.
Yeah, pick an ongoing relationship. Pick an ongoing relationship that you mostly enjoy and simply name the person and how you are involved.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so second question is, who are you in this relationship? How would you describe your identity in this relationship? Now be quiet for a couple minutes while you think about it, and maybe do some writing to answer the question, who are you in this relationship?
Sorry, Jim. Can you specify what you mean by like the formal question when you say involved? How you are involved in the relationship?
Yeah, involvement just means that you're spending time with somebody. So
Oh, so not like actual observation.
yeah, somebody
Thank you.
that you spend time with and do things with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then this, again, the second question, who are you in this relationship? And then why? Answer the question, why are you involved in this relationship? What's your intention in the relationship? Why are you involved? Why do you hang out with this person? So let's just pause here after your little journaling experience. See if there's any questions from what we've done so far. Good. Okay, so we're going to go back to small groups briefly for, again, about 10 minutes. So another kind of a small group just to talk about. You don't necessarily need to name who the other person is, so that can remain confidential if you prefer. But this is an idea to just answer the questions out loud and hear yourself talk in the field of empathy. So if you were if Jory and I were in a small group, I would say something like, so the other person that I'm involved with is a colleague that I work with on a board position.
Mm-hmm.
And who am I? So colleague, that's
Mm-hmm.
part of what comes up for me is colleague. And colleague for me implies a sense of partnership, that we're in something together, that we have a common aim. And I would say the other thing that's up for me when I think about who I am, what my identity is in that relationship, is I want to show up as kind of warmth is important to me, and that I want to show up as empathic. I want to, my edge tends to be around authenticity, or, you know, I'm still kind of re-educating myself not to be just a nice guy and just say yes. And so I want to show up with as much authenticity as I can and be honest. And so I think that's what comes up for me about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
you'll notice I just listened. I was present with him, and I listened to him, but I left the space that it was his turn to be heard.
yeah, no correction, no questions, no inquiries, no trying to direct me. If you're listening to somebody else and you don't have any clarity about what they're talking about, just be present with your own lack of clarity. You know, just let the other person discover for themselves their own clarity. And there'll be chance for more interaction in other exercises, but not this one. This is one where the person speaking has all the floor for 2 or 3 minutes. Just say whatever they want to about who the other person is, and who I am, and why we're together. And then the other person just listens with empathy, with an open heart. Is that clear for everybody?
So we're going to open up the rooms again. There have been some people come and go requests there. So if you don't go immediately into a room, it's because we're
adjusting,
Yeah,
including if you find out that you're alone.
that's what I'm most concerned about. I see at least one person.
So just be
right now.
patient if you find yourself alone,
Uh-huh.
and someone will come and visit you in just a second.
Yeah.
And again, it'll be for 9 minutes plus 1, and then we'll come back.
The first thing, basic question, is how important my role in this relationship, and how this role is going to help the other person for their support, for the need to suit their feeling, how to engage them, and this helps me to understand how I can build the same feeling and need with multiple people in my life, enhancing my role majorly, my contribution towards humanity.
Yeah. Wow. Can't get any more inspiring than that. Thank you. I'm really love hearing that. And I really like the vision that you point to here, which is that each relationship that we have has the opportunity to have rippling effects in other areas of our life. And so I feel inspired hearing your report, Xiaomu. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Somebody else want to share something about identity and intention that you have harvested for yourself, especially if you haven't spoken yet? Love to hear. We welcome all voices. Sometimes it takes some people longer to share, but we'd love to hear as many voices as possible.
Especially if you have never spoken up before. And I see Chamu.
She just
Oh, she just finished.
She just
Okay.
finished. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Somebody else? Identity.
Jaya.
and- yeah,
Jaya?
Joya.
Joya. Yeah, I'm not quite trained in their name. I'm still working on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim and Joey. I had a very interesting exchange with the friends I found in that little breakout room there. I was thinking of my daughter and my relationship, and she was thinking of her mother and her relationship. And the third person also added to that, saying that, how there is a kind of a independence and control in a relationship like that, where we play a role while we are bringing up a person. And then there is a certain transition where that other person becomes an adult in the life. And I think I'm going through a transitional relationship where I have to now reach out and understand the adult in the other person. And I was the adult and I was controlling, I was doing things for her, and now to let go and create that interdependence, that transition from that dependence, independence, and interdependence is so palpable. And that becomes a critical time in our lives. And I think I'm just going through that with my younger daughter. And I see that the roles are changing so fast, and I have to kind of understand that, and sometimes be the daughter in the relationship because she tells me what to do and what not to do as well. And I'm enjoying that and understanding so much about a relationship. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I love that you named this key distinction in nonviolent communication. And just in case it went by too quickly for you, I want to highlight it for you, that it's the key distinction in NVC that talks about kind of a journey that all human beings are on. We start our relationships with dependence. If you think about a newborn baby, the newborn is completely dependent on the mother. And then as life unfolds and the brain develops and skills are created and so forth, then the child experiences independence. And there's different phases of that. The first one's around the age of 2, right? When the so-called terrible twos, which I found delightful with both of our kids, to watch them actually start claiming their power. And sometimes it was a little bit scary. And then it seemed to happen like another echo happened around the age of 7. And then another echo around the age of 11, 12, 13 with puberty, when they really my sense was they really blossomed into more independence. And the involvement gradually, with dependence, the involvement is super, super high. And then as we move more and more towards, the kid moves more and more towards independence, then the involvement tends to get less and less. And then if growth continues to happen, if there is support to go through traumas, the inevitable traumas that we human beings go through, especially, I don't know about you, but puberty was one trauma after another for me. But if we get support from loving friends and family and mentors and so forth, then we can continue our growth into interdependence, where we realize the cost of trying to get our needs met at another person's expense, which is really what's highlighted by independence. It's like, I'm beginning to see that I have needs. I want that toy. I want I want that thing. And whether you want it or not, we can get into a tussle about it. With interdependence, I begin to see that if I get grabby, it might be teaching you to get grabby, and that we can find a way to share and be interdependent and to enjoy the resources that we have available. And I don't think that it's necessarily linear. I don't know about you, but every once in a while, I still get involved in a wrestling match around dependence or independence. And so I think that growing into interdependence is a never-ending journey. Juliana?
So the relationship that I chose was my relationship with my husband. And I noticed that I chose him to be my husband. That's the first thing that comes to me. And so he is not perfect. but there are so many beautiful things that I love about him. And so can I accept, as I get to know him, can I accept him with these beautiful parts and these parts that I wish were different? And the difference is because we have different histories and, and so different trauma and all kinds of things. So just understanding that, but enjoying the beauty of the person in the moment. And that is what can change, bring joy, change even in the other person, that kind of acceptance. I also noticed that at one point of time, I was getting almost enmeshed, in this relationship. And that's where I shook myself and I said, no, I need to first center myself in my relationship with my creator, and because that person is the one who will never fail me in his love and not fail, disappoint me in his love or anything like that. So always going back to that and staying centered in that helped me not to get enmeshed, and yet get that kind of relationship made me want to reach out more to my to human beings, and my husband is the person I chose.
Nice.
So yes, and it was so beautiful, and it's such a beautiful experience of growth, because to tell you the truth, I'm growing in honesty, I'm growing so many things just because of this closeness and trust that is developing, because it was so scary to have my first honest conversation, but it only brought us more closer in love. So I'm just growing. It's a relationship that's helping me so much to grow as a human being, and vice versa for him. So it's beautiful. And I really thank God for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm catching a couple of really important things that you're pointing out around who you want to be in this relationship. You want to be the one who is accepting. You're the one who wants to really focus on your own growth. These are important parts of the identity that you're bringing into helping to create a healthy relationship with your husband. Did I catch it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And he also supports me because growth is a big value for him too. He'll be making the breakfast while I'm attending the class here, so he'll be telling me, your class, don't be late, for your NVC. So, I mean, so what you said, sharing values is very important. To some extent, we may not share all values, but important values.
Well, I hope he comes to the class sometime. I'd love to meet him. Yeah, that would be really fun. And the other thing that you're highlighting that I think is often that we habitually don't pay attention to in relationships is intention. We think that we're involved, like with a romantic relationship, like a husband or a wife or living partner or something like that. We often think that that we're in the relationship because of love, and I think love is a great foundation. But I want to love all of you, so I can't let that be the foundation of my relationship, because that would be confusing for my poor little brain. So I need to find some other intention. And so I like the one that you pointed out, and it's the one that has really supported us for 40 years, is that our intention in our, speaking for myself, my intention in our relationship is to grow, is to use everything, all these little things. Jory's also, although she is of course perfect, she doesn't always do what I want her to do. And so I want to find ways to open my heart and accept her just as she is and as she isn't. And then so even when we go bump, which seems to be relatively inevitable, then there's a reason behind the going bump. Rather than resisting the resistance, I say, what's my part? What did I do?
Right.
Like, can I say a little bit about what happened this morning?
Well, I was just going to say that it's an opportunity for growth and learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was giving Jory some feedback this morning about breakfast. You know, we when we fight about the craziest things, right?
Yeah, really.
And I was sharing some things about she makes this fantastic breakfast that has like 26 different items in it every day. And I was giving her some
And you
feedback.
got grumpy about how I put it, what I put in when.
Yeah, I had a request about about something that I thought might make life more wonderful for me, and she let me know that she heard it as a demand. And I was, you know, at first I wanted to be a little bit defensive. You know, am I going to do you think I'm going to punish you if you don't change the strategy? You know, and so I noticed that was my first reaction, was to defend myself. And then after I went and gave myself some empathy and thought about it a little while, then I was able to go to her and I said something like, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm making a demand of you. So I really appreciate you letting me know that you heard something as a demand. I know I wasn't making a demand, but you heard it as a demand. That's fantastic feedback for me. So it gives me the opportunity then to grow and to stretch and to figure out how could I share something about how my life, how she might be able to contribute to making my life more wonderful in a way that doesn't sound like a demand. So that goes to the purpose of our relationship, which is growth. Anything you want to add about that or correct me about?
No, I'll do that later.
Okay.
No.
Anything else that anyone wants to share about intention and identity before we go on to the next practice? We're right on time, by the way, as if there is such a thing. So there's plenty. Go ahead, Siva.
As we talked about today, having this NVC intentionality affects everything. So there's 3 films that are currently available that I would recommend that my husband and I saw Friday and Saturday and Sunday. The first one we saw on Friday was the Elvis film. The second one was the new film starring Tom Hanks called My Name is A Man Called Otto, O-T-T-O. And the third one was an old classic film, High Noon, with Cooper. All of them, when you perceive through this NVC lens of all the letters that you said, are amazing examples.
Thank you, Siva. Maybe it would be helpful for people who might not have been, who might want to enjoy those movies as well. If you could write them down and put them in the chat. For people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah Joy?
Thank you, Jim. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I was just going to ask, the relationship I picked was like a doctor-patient relationship, but it's really, for me, beyond that. And, you know, there is something about, like, I can't say it's a friendship. And maybe you could say something about, you know, cultural identity type, you know, like, I could say that maybe we're spiritual companions or something like that, or, you know, but I can't really say that she's a friend because of her title, or so could you say something about that?
So you're noticing that a cultural label like doctor and patient, that kind of duality, that might get in the way of really having some clarity about the quality of the relationship that you have with this person. Am I getting it?
Maybe not the quality, but you know, how friendly we can be, or whatever, you know, like
so something
getting
about
together outside of the relationship of doctor-patient.
So are you pointing out that sometimes social or systemic influences put boundaries around how we can relate to people?
Yeah, limiting. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. 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 I don't know that there's anything that I would add other than I think it's so important to notice it and then to decide whether you want to believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I wonder if NVC teachers and students have, those boundaries and have certain boundaries.
Oh, I
as
would
well.
say that in the world that I want to live in, that there would definitely be boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we've been working on creating a document. I'm an assessor, which means that my part of my job is to support the next generation of trainers. And so we've been a group of assessors have been working on creating a document that actually points out though and tries to describe healthy boundaries between those kinds of relationships. And I think what you're pointing to that we're trying to get to in our document is that certain relationships by their nature are asymmetrical. That and what I mean by that is one person in the relationship has more systemic power than the other person in the relationship. So a doctor can diagnose a patient and a doctor can write a prescription for a patient, but a patient can't diagnose or write a prescription for a doctor. And so that means that the relationship is asymmetrical. So because of that asymmetrical power, bringing in a quality of clarity about that power can support well-being so that the person with more asymmetrical power doesn't use that power at the expense of the needs of the person with less power. And I think that's where those kind of ethical boundary decisions come from. Is that kind of what you're pointing to, Sarah Joy?
Yeah, I'm really curious about whatever your work is on that. At some point, I'd like to hear more about it. And thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Yes.
Yeah, it's actually a part of the certification, what's called the certification preparation packet. So if you go to the CNVC website, you can look at it. You can just go, they're reworking the website now, but basically it's how do I become a certified trainer? And then there's this document called a certification preparation packet, and it's been appended on to the end of that document now as a point of connection between the assessor and the candidate to talk about these asymmetrical relationships, because trainers do have power. And kind of a structural power that is that could, without care, become a power over relationship. And we so value power with relationships that we want to do our best to name it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I really appreciate that. I don't know if that's new in MVC or if that's been developing for a while.
It's been developing for a while. It's been in the trainer agreement for about as long as I can remember, but now it's being evolved and clarified so that new trainers, candidates, and eventually this will become part of the trainer agreement. Probably not this year, but next year it'll be in the trainer agreement.
And I see that Lynn has her hand up as well. Was that complete for you, Sarah?
Yes, thank you.
Lynn? Whoops, we can't hear you yet, Lynn. You need to unmute.
Unmute. I didn't want you to go on about the trainer.
There you go.
I'm with a man. That's who I picked as a relationship. And I just came on because somehow the Zoom didn't work for me. However, I did speak in a group, and my relationship, it seemed as if it's not clear to me what it is. I know pretty much what my intention is, and that is to hang out because of being in a community with his family and an very wonderful sexual relationship. He's now using a walker, and he comes in and out of clarity.
Hmm.
So I would like to hear something more positive and how to reframe it in a way that I get my needs met.
Yeah.
For intellectual stimulation, for being seen. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just not totally satisfying to me.
Yeah, well, I love the question, and I love your openness to discover the answer. And I think as we continue the exploration, hopefully you'll get the clarity. Before you arrived, we talked about how today was sort of, although each class will stand alone, today is like a foundational piece for a long-term discussion about nonviolent communication and relationships. And so we're kind of planting some foundational seeds today. So hopefully over the next few weeks, you'll get the clarity that you're aiming for. Okay? Teresa?
Hi. I,
Hi.
I didn't necessarily really want to go in the details about the exact exercise, but what struck me right now was just so much joy in hearing you talk about asymmetrical relationships and systemic power. I'm always longing for new language around power over and power under. And it just was really wonderful to hear that other language to describe what I'm trying to describe a lot of times. And so anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm learning a lot. And I think part of why my learning curve has been as steep as it has is because I've been blind. I've been blind to my power. You know, I've become more and more awake to the power that I have, given my social status and so forth, as a trainer and as a, so on and so forth, all these other little things. So let's keep practicing.
Yes.
And so we're going to go back to share the screen again and do the other practice. And this is the practice that will hopefully be something that will help to sustain you over the next week. And we're going to work on the G part, the gratitude part. This is like a fuel source for relationships. And it's also a wonderful way to practice the basics of nonviolent communication. Jory and I call it the easy way to practice, because you're not practicing with pain. You're practicing with pleasure. Use exactly the same pieces of nonviolent communication: observation, feeling, need, and request. But you're looking at the world through the lens of needs satisfied.
You're literally building an awareness in your brain of this other part that can make such a big difference. We don't often, in normal life, if you will, look at the value of gratitude. We might enjoy it, but we don't necessarily see the value of it and what it does in terms of our capacities. The negative, what do we call that?
Negativity bias.
There's a negativity bias that most of us have grown up with. So this is actually balancing that. So we're not negating the negativity part. I mean, that part is, there are things that aren't working, but we're creating a balance.
So the first step is, again, the observation step of nonviolent communication, or the first component. Marshall called them components of how we change the way we look at the world. And to name one specific thing that the person you were involved with, that you chose to work with for today, what's one specific thing that person did that made your life more wonderful? And write it down. Again, the more concrete and specific you can be in your observation, the more you're likely to get out of the exercise. So the second step is, what need of yours did that gift feed? So for example, I mentioned earlier that Jory makes this remarkable breakfast every day with about 20 ingredients or whatever. And so that's the observation. Jory makes breakfast and makes it for both of us. And then she announces that it's on the table. And what need of mine does that gift feed? Well, sustenance, for one, and also so survival. There's a quality of beauty to it because of the many textures and layers of taste that are in it. Connection, because we almost always eat breakfast together and talk and connect while we do it. So those are some of the needs that are satisfied. I'm going to put a needs chart up for
And I
you.
see Teresa has
That's an old hand.
Okay.
So let me put the needs chart up in case you're new. As you connect to these needs and just look at the list, you can probably have a sense that the more you look at it, the more each gift that you receive is interrelated to other needs. Like, sure, I get my nurturance and my sustenance from breakfast, but there's also a sense of beauty and harmony, a chance for self-connection as I enjoy a mindful meal. We also have we watch the birds that come to our bird feeder as we eat and we talk about it.
Self-expression.
Connection. Lately we've been bringing out our iPhones and looking at the sleep app to see how we slept the night before, or we listen to a story, or we listen to music.
Or we just chat.
And then this next part is to consider how you feel right now, not when you receive the gift, but how do you feel right now remembering the gift that you received? You don't need to know anything other than to notice the sensations in your body.
Mm-hmm.
So you just go and notice the body. This isn't something that happens cognitively. You're not thinking about how you feel, but you're actually noticing your body. And then once you find these pleasant sensations that we often call gratitude or thankfulness or appreciation, then you savor those feelings. And that's where the power, this is the source of shared power, is in the savoring of this gift, the needs that have been met, the feelings that are arising in you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really allowing yourself to really feel it and just or dance or what's a good word, like swim in it.
Mm-hmm. Stew in it. Yeah, swim or stew. And then open yourself to take responsibility for receiving the gift. What did you do that helped to make receiving this gift possible?
And sometimes it's just that you showed up.
That's what I did at breakfast this morning. I mean, I also did some other things. I went out to the garden and I cut some green leafy stuff that Jory put into the breakfast. And I also have given some feedback over the past about what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy about breakfast. So that it just keeps getting better and better. So my requests and my contributions helped me to receive this gift. What did you do?
You came to breakfast.
I did.
Yeah. Just that, even.
And then one final consideration, a new piece that we've just recently, that I've just added to my gratitude journal, is what's the effect of noticing this? How does this impact my experience of life? What's the effect for you of connecting to this life-serving emotion that we name gratitude?
It's up there.
So we'd love to hear some reflections on your gratitude process. What are you noticing? You all chose a relationship. Nobody wrote in the chat, I can't think of any gift that I received from this relationship. So you all must have connected to a gift. What do you notice?
What do you notice in your body? What do you notice in your experience right now?
Love to hear some voices, some feedback.
Is there a particular feeling that arises?
Lynn?
There's Lynn.
Go ahead, Lynn.
It was, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It was so simple for me. As soon as I looked at the needs list, it was perfectly obvious that it was empathy. And the last word in it was compassion. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I can learn from it and
Nice.
what I can give to it.
Nice.
And how it brings into my own life. It really softened me. My heart melted. There was a smile on my face, which is rare. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, more gratitude there. And I noticed that Katie wrote, feeling whole, happy, and grateful.
How about some more voices? Yeah, go ahead, Zohar.
Hi, Zohar.
Hi. It's a very powerful exercise. I'm very touched by what I discovered. But I'm also feeling some uncomfortable feelings, and I want to ask something regarding to that. So after I noticed one thing that the person I'm involved with in the relationship did that made my life more wonderful, I felt a lot of sweetness inside, but I also felt a lot of, I felt embarrassed, and I felt even ashamed for sometimes being too with him, like just before this call.
Uh-huh.
And so how do we keep working with that, if something like this comes up?
Yeah, so how human of you that there are a variety of responses to that. And that's a whole nother class. But just in general, just to allow and acknowledge, oh, I have a feeling. And then the work that we do here is to link it to what you're valuing, what your need is, just to allow that this is the case. There's another need, perhaps, that wants to be nurtured. How is that
It
for
was,
you?
yes, it's okay. Thank you. It brings me back to that complexity that, there was a need there of mine that I really wanted him to see, and to meet, and he wasn't.
Darn, we
So,
can't make them
yeah.
do things sometimes,
Yeah.
especially if we don't ask. That's a whole nother lesson, a whole nother piece.
Yes.
To be able to ask
Yeah.
what we want rather than expect or have a should around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
go ahead, Zora.
well, that's another like kind of question that I wanted to ask. So if what you wanted to say is in regard to that.
Go ahead with your question, because I got mine pegged.
Okay. So the next thing is, after I was thinking, what did I do to make this happen, to have received this present? I all of a sudden my eyes open that so many times in this relationships, I am actually in a relationship with myself and not really seeing him, the other person, and all those little things that are going on for him, because I realize that, wow, I probably do a lot of things that he really appreciates, and this is why he wanted to give it back to me and to make it wonderful for the two of us. And it was eye-opening because I never looked at it this way, and it's in a very deep layer, right? It's
Very
not,
deep.
oh yeah, he likes to eat this, he likes not this, not the habits. It's very, very deep in that soul connection level. So yeah, that was very touching for me.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think that's like the journey, part of the journey of relationship is that we focus on I, but we become more we. And I think in the United States, at least the way that I was programmed, I'm very I oriented. Autonomy, autonomy, autonomy. And relationships have been the the stimulus for so much growth about moving from just me to we. And so I see that. That's why I like adding these other two questions to the gratitude practice, because you get to see the relationality of the gift giving, and that often for me the ongoing effect of noticing gratitude is I notice more gratitude. But you also, to pull my peg off the wall, you may also notice mourning. Mourning is simply the flip side of gratitude. Gratitude is the natural response we have when needs are satisfied. Mourning is the natural response we have when needs are not satisfied. But the needs are the same. And can we grow a heart big enough to hold both celebration and mourning, even in the same moment? Because it's pretty much that's the reality that I live in. Even like I'm enjoying my breakfast, but right behind my enjoyment of breakfast is the despair that there are probably hungry kids on this island that don't have breakfast. You guys, many of you guys supported Ramanuja's project in Sri Lanka, giving these kids food. So even with the sweet taste of breakfast comes the salty tears of mourning that not everybody has breakfast like me. Can I have a heart big enough to hold that?
Yeah.
Anything you want to say in response to that, Zohar?
Just thank you.
Thank you for speaking up.
And Estella?
This was a really powerful exercise for me. And I don't know that I ever would have come to this place had I not done the exercise. So what I noticed, somebody that I'm like a friend, somebody that I'm getting to know through this recovery program. And I realized that when I'm sort of starting in a new friendship, that I tend to kind of take on this, humble attitude of, I'm here to listen to you, I'm here to give to you, I'm here to be there for you. And it's also a very cultural thing. I come from a Hispanic culture. And after doing this exercise, I realized, wow, no, it was both of us. There was both this giving and receiving. There was both this showing up and intentionality. And it kind of shifted kind of how I hold myself, instead of I'm the one here for you, because that's part of my culture. It's not so much part of I'm bicultural, but it's more the culture that I grew up with at home, the role, the gender role. And so I realized there's just so much equality here and so much empowerment that even if I want to take a step back and be humble about it, no, I'm still contributing. I'm still, there's something that I'm bringing here that really allows this to happen. And so I feel like there was more aspects that came forward for me around feeling more human and feeling more parts of myself and feeling more into that and feeling more into that reconnection that you were just talking about. And so it was really powerful for me. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so rich for me when people will express their direct experience, what it's like inside them, what they are taking away that's very personal. Thank you.
And also highlighting the power of mindfulness. Basically, this is like using our heart mind. Not necessarily just our thinking, but to actually our whole brain to see the interconnection of compassionate giving. It goes to the very purpose of NVC as Marshall defined it, Marshall Rosenberg. He said that the purpose of nonviolent communication is to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving. So it's in your willingness to receive his gift or her gift that gives them the gift of being able to give to you. And so it creates this wonderful virtuous cycle of giving and receiving, which I think is our basic nature. Part of our basic nature of human beings is to enjoy this act of giving and receiving. Thank you, Estella.
Thank you.
Jeff.
Yeah, thank you. I know I took some space earlier to tell a joke, but this is serious. So, yeah, the person who gave to me They taught me how to do something. They taught me how to sit with a feeling and to just stay with it. When the conversation, I can make the conversation keep going to the next thing that I need to say. But the person taught me how to sit with, and he started with celebration too. Like, oh, I'm going to sit with that. We're just going to feel that for a little bit, you know? And that met a lot of needs inside of me. As I recalled it, it made my body feel calm and serene and restful, non-stimulated. The part that I played is I showed up and I asked for help when I needed it. Asked for support. And the effect that it had on me, this is the part I really wanted to get to, is that it gave me a desire to give space back to other people and to feel pain and to share joy with them. And I realized that I have always been a person who sensed what's going on in the room, sensed other people's feelings, but it was with a motivation of how can I make everything better, make everybody feel better. And now it's just to be with the person in their experience. And that means, thank you.
Thank you. Yay. I see lots of hearts and affirmation.
Yeah,
Oh, I missed-
shared celebration.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for sharing your voice with us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lots of hearts. Look at that.
So let's shift into the kind of the closing pieces here. And we often put some links at the end for you to consider utilizing. The first link is your link, Jory.
Yeah, that's a link to connect with me, make an appointment to spend some time together. I invite you to reach out if you see some needs that would be met for you. And I don't charge for my sessions. You can make donations if you like, of course, but I welcome you reaching out, and I welcome the opportunity to contribute to you.
It's a gift.
A gift.
Yeah. Thank you. And here is another gift for you guys. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we record, y'all would be how I used to say it.
Yeah.
A gift for y'all is the recordings from the class. And you can get them two different ways. You can get them on our website, pathwaystoliberation.com. Resources, and then also on YouTube. We have our own YouTube channel. If you do it on YouTube, you'll get a little notice when we put up a new one, which is usually on Tuesday or Wednesday. It takes me a couple days usually to get it together to get it up there. They're not edited. They're pretty raw. It's certainly not professional grade, but hopefully they're still useful. And you can use them to review the class, to use them in your own practice group, to get inspiration for other ways that you might want to share NVC in your neighborhood. I wrote a book about a little over a year and a half ago now. It's been out for a year and a half, called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication. And you can probably order it and get it shipped to you for free by utilizing that link. They do international shipping all around the world. If you try to go through the publisher and get it shipped, it can be remarkably expensive. As Jory mentioned, we do all of our NVC work in the spirit of compassionate giving and receiving. And so you can give us a gift if you want to, and we'll pay it forward to support nonviolent communication projects that we're involved with or that our friends are involved with.
And we actually also welcome if you are donating something to someplace else, and actually you're donating for us too. It doesn't have to have our name on it, but just that you are contributing to our community in some way, let us know.
So we can savor it.
Celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, savor with you.
Yeah, maybe you want to give money to your local food bank, or to your local practice group, or to another trainer that you really care about. Just let us know that you did that so we can savor it with you.
Yeah.
And also you can give money directly to the Center for Nonviolent Communication. If you would like that idea, that's the organization that Marshall started about 50 years ago now.
It's a nonprofit, and you will get a possibility of having that on your taxes.
If you're an American citizen.
If you're an American citizen, if you do it and you're not an American citizen, or don't need that kind of tax write-off, this is tax time, you can do it and say it in our name so we get it.
And lastly, I put this link in there last week, but I find it so valuable. This is a link from the New York Times, and this is a free link. I'm as a subscriber, I get to give away a certain number of articles each week, and this is a relationship quiz that helps you to kind of do a self-assessment on the health of your own relational system. And that might be a nice set of observations for you as we continue to explore the power of relationships, the shared power of relationships over the next few weeks. So I think that's all the links that I would like to share with you today.
And the link to how they'll get to the website.
It's
where all
already
this
did
is?
that.
Oh, you
Already
did that. Okay.
Yep. And next week we will continue our iGiraffe exploration. This week we did identity and gratitude, and next week we will work on I'll work on me, you work on you, and if there's time we'll also do refusing a submission. But this idea of utilizing relationships for inner work and the benefits that can come from that. And it doesn't have to be, again, this isn't just necessarily one-on-one personal relationships. It can be work relationships. It can be collegial relationships, friendships, parent-child relationships, or child-parent relationships. Any kind of relationship you can work on.
The truth is, we are related to everything. We're just a part of a very large system.
And you have the choice to work with a different relationship each week, if you like to, for the practices. At the very end here, it's at the bottom of the hour. I'd like to actually keep you in your small groups today. And there's 2 minutes left. I'd just like to open up the group so you could say goodbye to one another and have a sense of completion with each other. And then if you want to stick around for a while, we'll make larger groups for those who want to stay.
Yeah.
Other than that, we'll see you next week. So I'm going to reopen the groups, and just so you can say goodbye to each other, and aloha. Thank you for being with us.
And if we see you alone in a group after that, we'll just have someone in there if only one of you wants to stay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye-bye.